Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about all the books I read this year, so in January, February and March. I've read 16 books so far and DNF'd 3 of them, so today we are gonna talk about 19 books. Let's start. I'm gonna start with DNFs because it should be pretty fast. First book I DNF'd this year. I started reading Happy Hour by Marlowe, Granados. I'm gonna actually read to you my review on Storygraph. I DNF'd this book at 10%, so not that much, but what I wrote it reminded me a lot of the Alderton's Memoir, which I also DNF'd. No substance and focus on parties. Decided to DNF it at 10% because I don't believe it would get any better. I believe that if you enjoyed Dolly Alderton's, how was it called? Like the most popular one. I can't remember the name. That you might enjoy Happy Hours. So that's the first DNF of the year. Second DNF, and I actually tried to record a vlog for that. I think it's on my YouTube channel already. But spoiler alert for this vlog. I DNF'd Akotar by Sarah Tremez, A Court of Thorns and Roses. The main reason for that is I get bored. You will see that main DNF reason for me is boredom, because nothing else really makes me DNF books. Although the next one is because it was problematic. So Akotar, you all know Akotar. It's a fantasy. Is it high fantasy? Yeah. It's adult fantasy. I think it was branded as young adult when it came out back in 2016, I want to say. But it's definitely adult fantasy, and it's about this fairy world. Borders are closed off to humans. Humans need to fight for their survival, and fairies are like, let's chill, we've got this whole kingdom here, and humans are below us. So that's basically the world. And we're following Farrow, which is supposed to come to Fairy Kingdom because something happened and fairy people decided that she needs to now live with them. Besides boredom, you will see in this vlog that I wasn't really into the romance. I tried and I failed. I feel like if I was back in high school, I would really enjoy this whole series, because I know that when I was like 14, 15, I really enjoyed Throne of Glass, and it's giving similar vibes. Third book, actually non-fiction book. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. So this book is about trauma and how this trauma is manifesting in our lives, and basically how our body, although you might not remember the trauma, might manifest in your body. So the thing about this book and why I said it's problematic, because this feels kind of misogynistic. The author really focuses on military trauma, at least in the beginning, and about soldiers and how they act. There were some instances that I was like, hold on, what is this comment even about? Like, comment about that soldiers go to this mission and they go to bars and what is going on? And they need to find women because they are on the mission and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I really don't like it, and then I decided to read reviews on Goodreads, and it's not getting better. And I would suggest to you to actually read reviews before starting this book, because if I read this before starting, I probably wouldn't even touch this book. That are all of my DNFs. We are done with complaining. No, we are not done actually, because there are more books I'm gonna complain about, but also they weren't as bad, and I didn't end them. In January, I read 6 books. Kind of amazing for me. And let's start with the first one. So the first one that actually made me really excited about reading was None of This Is True by Jewell. And this book is about a woman that has kind of a complicated life and a podcaster. And this podcaster is recording now a podcast episode about this woman changing her life and telling her life story. And this is thriller, and this woman that is interviewed has very interesting life. And as we go through the stories, we actually are not sure what is true. None of This Is True is great title. I had so much fun with this book, but with thrillers and mysteries I always expect shock value, but this was kind of predictable, and like I was interested in story, although I knew where the story was going, but I was interested to read about this. So in the end I gave this 3.75 stars, which is great, and I had so much fun. And I think I'm gonna, I don't know if Jewell has different books. The next one. This was actually from my 2024 TBR, and it's The Unmaking of Farrow by Adrienne. And this is magical realism fantasy book, and it's about this small town, and there is this woman that is sometimes hallucinating and hearing shit and seeing shit that is not there. The things she's seeing might actually exist or not. Like, we're not sure they exist for her. And we are following her. Oh yeah, that was the important thing. So the important thing in this story is that her whole family has this curse, that all the women in family are dying from this sickness and hallucinations, and they have this psychosis or something, and she's set to break this curse. But of course something happens, and there is a lot of mystery. There is also a mystery of some murder in this town that happened a couple of decades ago, and she's trying to connect this murder to her family because something is not adding up as she's trying to see what is going on. After reading this book, I was like, yes, this year is gonna be amazing. Firstly, thriller that was so much fun, and this book that I almost gave 5 stars. I gave this book 4.75, and the only thing that took away from the 5-star reading was the romance. I really wasn't into this romance. Every time the romance was on the page, I was like, you should be friends. Definitely. Not romantic partners. The next one is The Principle of Moments by Esmie. I'm gonna butcher this name, and this is so bad. Jikiemi-Pearson. This is the first book in the Order of Legend series, and it's fantasy science fiction series. I think it's also adult. It's adult, but it really read quite young. Like, this was very weird for me that the main characters weren't teenagers. The book is very confusing. Like, it took me a long time to understand where we're trying to move and what is the premise. But I'm gonna try to explain this without spoiling. So I think we follow 2 characters. One character is on another planet in the far future, and she is working for some government body of the universe. And she's like, this is not a life. I want to do something. They are using us. And all of a sudden, some random guy is appearing and she's got this vision. This guy is telling her about some prophecy. She doesn't understand a thing. We don't understand a thing. We have no idea what is going on. She's all of a sudden running away from her home planet and is trying to find someone. And the other character that we follow him in 19th century, where his dad left him. And he also left his lover, that is a prince. He's trying to find a cure for his sickness because he's got this mystery sickness that is causing his body to basically degenerate. His first thought was to run away from his lover, which is great. So then, as you might expect, these two stories kind of connect. I think this was a debut novel for this author. And also, in the beginning of this book, she's talking about how she wrote this book when she was, I think, 16 or something. And you can definitely tell that these adults in the book were written by 16-year-olds. So I didn't quite enjoy this aspect. I was also very lost. I didn't understand for the almost whole book what is the goal and why are they doing stuff, and the prophecy was the most confusing part. And I don't know, I just was dragging through this book. This took me only 2 weeks. This is shocking actually, because I felt like I was reading this book for the eternity. I won't be continuing this series, this is for sure. And I gave this book 3.25 stars. In the beginning I was really enjoying it. Okay, next book, and this is my first 5-star read of the year. And it is Starless by Erin, Morgenstern. This was kind of surprising for me because in the beginning I was dragging through this book. I started this book in 2023, I think in November. And I only finished it in January, but I read like 20 pages in November, December of last year, and then I read the rest of 600 pages in 3 days. And this was very mystical, vibey, kind of slow, and kind of makes you fucked up in your head kind of book, because you don't really know what is the truth and how this world actually works at the end of the book, because they don't really explain to you, like, this might or might not exist kind of story. The story is about this college student that finds this weird book in the library, and this book is having different short stories. One of the stories about him when he was a child. And this story is talking about how he had a chance to open this magical place, but he didn't. I won't tell you anything more because I think this might spoil anything, and I don't want to do that. But Erin Morgenstern has such a beautiful writing. I think she only has 2 novels. She's an author of Night Circus, and Night Circus also had this vibe, but Night Circus for me was more boring because it didn't really have any plot. This plot in Starless is kind of also like watered down, and plot isn't that important. Vibes are important. This book made me realize that Erin Morgenstern is now my go-to author, so I'm waiting for the next book. I don't think she's working on anything, but who knows. Starless, perfection. Ooh, Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. You probably know Fourth Wing. Everybody on the internet knows Fourth Wing, and Fourth Wing was fun. It was like mash all the fun stuff for the fantasy into one book and make it spicy. That was Fourth Wing, and I quite enjoyed Fourth Wing for the entertainment, and it was what I needed. It isn't the best book, but I had so much fun. I started listening to Iron Flame with the same mindset that it's gonna be so fun. I can listen to it while I do my dishes, but this book did what I hate the most, which is trying to make every book in series the same format as the first successful book. Meaning that we follow kind of a different story, but it's also kind of the same. And also the romance, although it was set up in first book, we're gonna follow the same format, so we need to introduce some random conflict that doesn't really make sense. And it was also miscommunication, and I not really hate, sometimes I think miscommunication is a great trope, but this was so annoying because every time I listened to this book I was like, this is Fourth Wing but change some details a bit, and also Fourth Wing was more fun. The funny thing is, I tried to explain to you every book before, and the moment I dropped the Iron Flame TikTok book, I'm all of a sudden explaining you this book in tropes. Because actually, this is the only substance to this book. Take it as you wish. And what is my rating? 2.5 stars. Now for the book that might be controversial because of my rating. This is A Study in Drowning by Reid. And let me tell you, I gave this book 2.75 stars. This is the last book I've read in January. So, the second half of January wasn't my favorite. Study in Drowning is about the architecture student, and she's getting this opportunity to design house for the son of her favorite author. This author wrote a book about Fairy King, and this girl in the childhood saw the Fairy King. I'm just reading a lot of books about seeing stuff. This book focuses on this mystery about Fairy King, but it also is trying to be a feminist book and about how women are treated in the, I would say, in the professional setting, and how society doesn't really listen to women but is saying that it's emotional, you're crazy, stuff like that. But I think Reid isn't really... I really need to buy a new camera because this camera is overheating after like 20 something minutes of footage, and I'm talking a lot, so I need better camera. I really don't enjoy female characters in Reid's book, and I don't enjoy her commentary on important societal stuff. The weird thing also about main character in this book is that we are starting with a person that is traumatized, doesn't really have a great life, parents awful, school awful, everybody awful, and there is also a sexual assault case, and she's understandably very anxious, very self-conscious, you know. And at the end of the book, all of a sudden, there's a character arc, and she's all of a sudden this great person and she can do anything. And this reminded me a lot about children's book, where the character arc is like after one adventure. This is the second favorite book that I really hated. February, 5 books. And we start with Memoir by Julia Fox down the drain. 4 stars. Julia Fox is talking about her life. Great audiobook. Read trigger warnings. I have nothing else to say actually about the book. This was pretty good, especially on audiobook. Next, 5 star, and this is a romance book. I usually don't give romance books 5 stars because usually they don't provide like that much entertainment for me to give it 5 stars, and usually they are mostly for entertainment. So this was very shocking. And the book is Delilah, Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and this is sapphic love story. and I had so much fun, and I need to read another books in the series, although the series is about different characters, so you can read all the books as standalones, but this was fantastic. So this woman actually, Delilah Green, is coming back to her hometown because her sister is having a wedding, and then she meets her sister, not really meets, she knows this person, but they reconnect after not seeing each other for 10 years or something. She meets her sister's best friend, and from then it goes on, and it was great. There was also, this was very surprising for me, because the love interest has a child, and this is also another thing that I don't enjoy in books, in romance books. I was very surprised that I really enjoyed this family dynamic. The next book is Ruthless, Vows. Second book in Letters of Enchantment series. First book was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. And let me tell you, I was so hyped for this book, and unfortunately it has second book syndrome, meaning the second book is always bad in the series, not always bad. Many of the second books in the series are not great. Divine Rivals. Let me talk about Divine Rivals because I don't want to spoil Ruthless Vows. So Divine Rivals is about these two characters that work in newspaper, and they have this rivalry, and there is also war between gods, and every god is having an army of just normal people, and these normal people take part in the war between these two gods. And then these characters are not recalled. They decide to go and report on the war front. This is romantasy, I think. It's more romance than fantasy. Also, it is young adult, and this is the next thing. I really don't enjoy young adult anymore, but I decided to give this a chance. And Divine Rivals, amazing. Ruthless Vows, on the other hand, very boring again, the same as with Iron Flame, and the author tried to make second book the same format, and also tried to make romance work the same as in the first book and follow the same pattern, and I gave this 3 stars. The next book is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and this is science fiction. So the guy going to the bar to celebrate his friend's success, and when he's trying to go back to his house after drinking, he gets kidnapped, and then he wakes up in the science facility, and people are talking to him about his great success and trying to interview him about his experience, and we don't really understand, and this guy is like, what the fuck is going on? Do I have amnesia? What happened? Am I crazy? And I gave this book 4.5 stars. I just love stories like this that make you think, and then in your normal life you are thinking about the book and what would happen if this book was real. But unfortunately, although I love the story, this fell flat at the end and was kind of repetitive, and also this annoys me a lot, especially about men authors that are having this random stuff put in. Like, for example, one thing I will remember, the author was explaining a building having feminine curves. What the fuck does it mean? This is the stuff that I cannot get through. Although it was a great book, but I couldn't give this 5 stars. Last book from February is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. We all know Ali Hazelwood. We all love her. I don't know. Yeah, but she's an author of STEM romances. And The Bride is her first romance with paranormal world. So the romance is between werewolf and vampire, and it's a marriage of convenience kind of vibe. Not kind of. This is marriage of convenience because the vampire is sent to the werewolf territory. They make a deal so that werewolves send someone important to marry, I think, or not. But they send someone from werewolf territory and to vampire territory, and from vampire territory to werewolf territory, so werewolves and vampires won't have war because there is this collateral situation going on. I really enjoyed it and had so much fun, and books like this, like Bright, then we've got on the other hand completely Delilah, Green Doesn't Care, makes me love romance genre so much. And this is surprising for me because for many years of my life I really disliked romance genre, and I'm having so much fun. Also 4.5 stars. Okay, I'm getting tired recording this. I should start recording wrap-ups more often and not once for the quarter. Okay, let's go with March books. So the first one, 5 stars. Jesus. I read this book on Kindle and now I need to buy a physical copy because I enjoyed this book so much. This is what I do usually, that I read book on Kindle and then if I really like the book, I'm gonna buy a physical copy. But the book that I'm talking about is The Will of the Many by James Islington. I haven't read such a good fantasy in such a long time, and I forgot how fantasy can make me feel. Like literature, the best thing ever, books, best thing ever. I was thinking about this story and this book for every second that I wasn't reading this book and every second I was reading this book. This was the book that made me turn off my phone and not look at it for like 5 hours at the time. So this is saying a lot. The story, this is kind of complicated. We've got pyramid as a society, and on the bottom we've got 8th class, and this class is giving will to the higher class. So for one person from 7th class, we've got like, I can't remember how, 7 people, some amount of people that are giving will to these 7 people, and these people from 7th class are giving to the higher, and so you go on. And of course people on the highest level don't give will, they just have this will from so many people, and the will makes you stronger, more energetic, makes you have magical abilities. And we've got our main character. This main character is living in 8th class, but he hasn't yet given will to anybody because you don't need to give will until being some years old. Can't remember really. But he's living in
orphanage.
And all of a sudden he's recognized by this very important person and he gets adopted. He's 17, I think, in the book. Then he gets this opportunity to attend some very important academy. Everybody wants something from him. Like the guy that adopted him wants something from him. And there are so many sides that you are really confused, and everybody is basically a bad guy. In this book we also get a mystery of ancient weapon, I would say. And let me tell you, the plot twist at the end was crazy. Like, the moment I read the last chapter, I was like, what the hell is going on? The fuck? So I'm waiting for the second part in the series because I think this might become my favorite series of all times. Here with Poppy War from Arifcon. Then I read 7 Days in June. This was a very popular book on BookTube last year and the year before, I think. And this is a romance, but it's very toxic romance, and both of the parties are very traumatized. and they have lots of shit to do. This was also very surprising. There is also a child in this book, and I was like, I'm gonna hate this book, there's a child. And the child was great. So this is a second chance romance. Basically these two people haven't had contact in a couple of years. There are lots of grudges, miscommunication. This was very realistic romance. Like, I think that I could meet people like them and they could have a story like this. Also the writing style, amazing. Tia Williams is a great writer. But I gave this 4.25 stars and I cannot remember why, actually. Like, why isn't it higher? Because in my mind it was a great book. Maybe I wrote some review. No, I can't remember what I didn't like. Like, it wasn't 5-star book. It wasn't like, wow, this is gonna be the book I'm gonna think about for the rest of my life. Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. And this is a serial killer's romance, and basically there are two serial killers and they decide to make a game that everywhere they're gonna race to kill some kill another serial killer based on tips that they get from the third party. So they have this game, but between the races they text and they get to know each other, and that's how the love is blossoming, and they have this fun thing of killing people. It wasn't as fun. I mean, it was entertaining. It was great palate cleanser, I would say, and this really threw me back to my fan fiction time, and because of that it was great, but it wasn't really, nothing really amazing. So 3.25 stars, I would recommend this. It was fun. That's all. Next, again, I am reading kind of a lot of non-fiction this year. Surprising. But a memoir by Viola Davis, the woman from How to Get Away with a Murder. I haven't watched that, so I have no idea what is it about, but I saw a memoir and decided to listen to that. It's also narrated by Viola Davis, so I recommend to listen to audiobook, and I gave this 4.5 stars. It was really great. Viola Davis is a great storyteller. Oh my god, battery is dying fast. This was about Viola Davis' life. I mean, kind of lives. She had very different lives during her lifetime. And that book, Lost Connections by Johann Harry, 4.25 stars, and this is also non-fiction, and it's about depression basically, and how to solve depression without really SSRIs, and why depression is really a natural reaction to the world we live in and how we live in. And although I think this book really changed how I view life and really made me make changes in my life, which doesn't really happen that often with non-fiction books, but the way Johann Harry is presenting information sometimes is a little bit too casual for me, and I'd rather have more scientific approach, but also at the same time it's great that it's more casual because I'm not getting as tired to read non-fiction book. But yeah, I would highly recommend this, especially if you struggle with depression or anxiety and you might learn something new, or if you know a lot about depression you might just repeat the information. But I went into a research hall after this book, so it was also great, and I read a lot about SSRIs and their research, especially newer research about them, so that was great. Okay, I am gonna finish because I think the camera will be dead soon, so Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video isn't 40 minutes long. I'm gonna try to cut it as much as possible, and next time I'm gonna make a shorter wrap up. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!